Hello, listeners, and welcome to the greatest rising podcast in football. I'm Carson, and I'm a Cardsaholic.
I'm Ian, and I'm a Bearsaholic. And now for the third member of our podcast, the most electric podcaster in all podcast history. It is...
It is I. Greetings, listeners. I am your electric host, the amazing, the incredible, the friendly neighborhood Alex, and I'm a Billsaholic coming at you full steam at 3-0. Speaking of that, the Jags are terrible. But most points scored on them in the first half in their franchise's existence.
You know who doesn't suck, though?
That's crazy.
The Andy Dalton Panthers.
No, that's
Oh,
crazy. The
Red
Andy
Rifle,
Dalton
baby.
Panthers won before the Jaguars.
All right, stick around for more
Red
of this
Rifle.
after we run, for the very first time, our brand new show intro. Let's get right into it. All right, listeners, welcome back to Footballers Anonymous. What
Ooh.
a week we have had. Isn't
Week
that right?
3 of the NFL
It's been a
season.
good one.
Before we start, we do have a couple of announcements. We can confirm now that we will be doing a Footballers Anonymous episode every week of this season.
And I think that's how we should be doing it. We're going to be delivering you content every week. We got to keep it rolling.
Every single week. And on that note, if
Weekly
you want more
coverage of the NFL.
If you want more of this content throughout your week, we have exciting news. We have officially created our Footballers Anonymous TikTok and Instagram. You should go follow them. It's pretty cool stuff
We're going
going
to have
on.
it going on YouTube as well. But we got the shorts coming out. We got the reels coming out. We got the TikToks coming out. We're going to get some clips from our
And you know what
podcast
comes
as
with
we
that?
go.
You know what comes with that content? Our comments. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Alex with our comment of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be starting this new segment. And it's our comments of the week. In terms of social media, as you know, we're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. These things have comments, right? You can comment on videos, give feedback, positive and negative, yada, yada, yada. You know how it works. You're on social media. If you're not, that's weird. And I don't know how you found us. So, with that in mind, I just wanted to share this absolutely inspiring comments that really drove me to making this segment. Starting it out, I was like, I got to do comment of the week. This is really hitting me on the head. It is getting to me. It's inspiring me to do better. It's great. I'd
So
like to
much
shout
love.
out the TikTok user, Dylan, for giving this comment of a lifetime and really giving me the drive to start the comment of the week segment. Give him a round of applause. Now, introducing the wise words of Dylan, and I quote, "Man, can't wait to hear all these football takes. Alex seems electric. Give it up, boys. This sucks balls." Now, as the electric host I am, this comment opened my eyes. It inspired me. It showed me the light. I was awakened that morning, and I read this comment, and it drove me. It inspired me. To really show how much this comment means to me, I'm going to highlight things with more impact on society and particularly the football world, but not just the football world, more impact than his comment. Kadarius Toney's hands, the Chicago Bears offensive line, Bryce Young, and the fun of watching paint dry. Give it up for Dylan.
We love you, Dylan.
We love you, Dylan.
Ooh.
Thank
We
you
love
for
you.
inspiring us to be
We
better.
got our first hater, and we're not even big yet.
I think Dylan's our number
We're
one
going
fan,
strong.
I think
honestly.
Dylan, this is
Oh,
a
yeah,
milestone
for
for
sure.
us guys. Okay, every big social media presence has its haters, and Dylan is just the first of many. So Dylan, thank you for pushing us one step closer in the right direction.
Yes,
Ian, I
so
believe
we love
Like
Dylan in
going
our
at it.
lives.
Ian, I believe you had a couple other comments that you thought were pretty good.
Another comment of ours came on TikTok from the user Perk31. Pretty
Ooh,
good name.
that's a good one.
He said, "Why are we as Cardinals fans laughing at a Bears fan? Bro, the Cardinals are poverty as well historically."
I
Now,
gotta be honest. He kind of has a point.
I'm
Okay,
gonna be
my
honest.
my
I don't think the
response.
Bears are historically poverty. We won a Super Bowl in '85, and we will hold on to that forever.
Okay, my response to that comment is Cardinals have an offensive line. So,
Ooh.
just
You
saying.
know what the Cardinals don't have? A ring. I don't see a ring on that finger. I
Yeah,
don't
you
see
know
a
why?
ring on that
Because the
finger.
Cardinals are single and ready to mingle. We're
With who?
players.
With
We're
who?
players.
With who?
With
They'll figure it out in like 100
we'll
years.
figure it
when
out
they
at
finally
some
win the Super Bowl and
point.
Carson's about to die. But
What are you flirting with? The bottom of your division? Like,
We're
what?
flirting with second place in our division, which is more than you can say, I'm pretty sure.
the 49ers are actually floating with bottom of the division right now. They're injury riddled, choking aura that they're giving off. They lost to the
Listen.
Rams.
Listen, okay, yes, they lost to the Rams, but
Who loses to the Rams?
Samuel, Kittle, and McCaffrey were all out. And also, we are going to do the Cardinals a big favor when we beat the Rams next week.
I would appreciate that very much.
Big favor.
We do have to talk. Speaking of the Bears-Rams game, before we kind of get into all the breakdowns and whatnot, we got a little streak going on here. The Cardinals, week 2, put up 40 against the Rams. Week 3, we put up 40 against the Jaguars. So naturally, because this is definitely a logical thing to add here, the Bears are going to put up 40 versus the Rams because that's just how it works.
And
We
we are
make the
very
rules.
excited for you. We are
Now,
incredibly
listen.
excited for you.
You finally get to have an offense.
I am going to say, going into our week 3 game against Indianapolis, I did say I thought we were going to put up 30-plus points. Obviously,
Yeah.
that did not happen, but in my
Not
defense,
quite.
the offensive line is disgusting. An image from our 4th and goal on the 1. Every single lineman of ours, except for Pryor, was on the ground. Every
I
single
saw that.
DeAndre Swift running the ball to the outside. And instead of, hitting, like DJ Moore's downfield blocking, and instead of following that block and going around, he runs straight into DJ Moore, resulting in a very short gain.
You don't understand DeAndre Swift. He knows more than we do.
I don't think so. He knows more about DJ Moore's back than I do because he's personally visited it. So
He's going right at.
I mean,
He,
we'll get into
he
that. We'll
might
get into
just
all that
like
later.
that. I mean,
We'll get into all that later.
We'll get into all
Right
that
now,
later.
let's
Alright,
dive
but
into
first-
our weekly power rankings.
But before we do that, we do have one more thing to announce. In case you didn't remember last week, we talked about how our favorite people in football are the mascots. The mascots of football. They are the
Maybe the
faces of the franchise. So I've taken it upon myself to personally ask every single franchise to allow their mascot to guest star on our show. And I will continue to email every single franchise each week until one of their mascots finally agrees and earns Carson's award for greatest mascot. I call it CAG M.
we gotta place our bets on this. Actually, it might take a minute, but call us crazy, but we're gonna get one.
We are
At
going
some
to get
point.
one.
Now,
That was
Actually.
crazy.
I think I'm gonna put my bet on the Colts mascot just because he's the coolest and he has that social media presence.
I don't want to talk to that guy right now.
Well,
Okay,
I
but
don't
he
want-
can
You'll be
thrust.
okay.
I mean,
I don't want to
You'll
talk
be
to
okay.
Blue.
nah, but he's that guy.
he is that guy.
He is at the top of the mascot chain.
It's
The mascot.
Oh,
true. He is.
I think it's gonna be Poe, honestly, the Ravens mascot.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Poe's good.
Okay. All good guesses.
Are the Commanders the only team that don't have a mascot? I can't remember.
No, they have Major
least-
Tutty the pig.
They have
They
the pig.
do
yeah.
have one now. That's right. They didn't when they were the football team, I think. But is there a team that doesn't have a mascot?
No, they all do.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
The
Okay,
the
I know
Commanders
there's
were
a
the
couple
only one,
NFL
but they have
teams
one
that
now.
Gotcha. I gotcha. All right.
All right, and now with that, we are going to
Please
jump.
join us, mascots.
Now with that, we are going to jump right into. No, you're good. We're going to jump right into our power rankings. Now, for those of you who are just now joining us and don't know how this works, all three of us created our own power rankings, and all of them were submitted to me, and and were averaged together to create a group set of power rankings. The only issue with this averaging system is that occasionally you get ties between two, or in this case, three teams. In which case, we will discuss which of those teams we think should take the top spot. We'll go from bottom to top, and we'll discuss each one.
Don't forget, it's our list, so it's automatically better than Pete Prisco's.
This is true. This is so true. Do not listen to him.
That man put the Seahawks at 4. I know they're undefeated, but they beat the Broncos, which little more credit because of this week. But before then, no.
Okay, but it was week 1. You knew they weren't going to be good.
Yeah. They went to overtime with the Patriots, and then they beat the Skylar Thompson Dolphins. You know how bad that offense was?
It's pretty bad.
It made Tua look like the most valuable quarterback in the league. He's not, but
That's saying a lot too.
Yeah,
all right.
Tyler Thompson. They need to sign someone desperately.
So first off, starting at 32.
Colin Kaepernick return game.
You all know who this is going to be. But it's not the Panthers. At 32, we have the Tennessee Titans. Oh boy.
Yeah, Will Levis.
And
Will
on
Levis.
The topic of the Titans, we're gonna insert the Will Levis meme of the week. Everybody give it up.
The Will Levis
the
meme
week.
of the week with Ian.
He's more committed to making memes out of his failure than winning football games. I respect it.
This is why he gets his own segment. Ian, the meme of the week.
He is stomach down on the ground with a Packers defensive lineman on the back of his head. I mean, I think this is the best one so far, honestly. I mean, week 3 is looking up to be the best one so far.
Oh,
That's it. That's the Will Levis meme of the week.
I'll tell you what.
Titans.
If he pumps them out every week, we got to rank them.
100%.
Oh, 100%. No.
Season and postseason ranking.
At the end of the season, we will have an entirely separate episode that is the Will Levis memes power ranking. And
meme review.
And we will let the fans vote.
Ooh.
We will let the fans vote on the Will Levis meme of the week.
We're getting
Final
you involved.
Oh, yes. Okay, so the Titans. First off, shout out to Tony Pollard for the solid 12 yards. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't 12. 14, sorry. 14 whole yards that he pumped out for that offense. Wow. They are looking amazing. Will Levis didn't even have terrible numbers.
He had a decent game. I mean, 26 for 34, 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's just the 2 interceptions on the meme of the week that kind of set him back there.
The big thing I'm seeing with him is he has the talent to make the plays, but he's definitely lacking in terms of some of his decision making, and some of his throws can be completely off kilter. That pick 6 was not the greatest thing in the world. I mean, he's had a couple bad picks now. I mean, obviously, Ian knows. I mean, week 1 with where he was holding his hands up to his head.
Tyreek Stevenson, baby.
That was a bad throw. And Brian Callahan's been calling him out for it and whatnot. I mean, he's got to clean that up. But I also can understand, I think they should still give him some time. I do think they should give him some time still. But, and I say this coming from a Bills fan who watched Josh Allen kind of do a similar thing.
Look,
Will Levis has the ability to make the plays, but he's too focused on the mayonnaise.
Look, here's the thing. The Titans, on paper, are a somewhat decent team. I think Will Levis has the ability to make this team get a couple wins. But they're just... Yeah. There's something weird going on. I don't even know what it is, but it's just not clicking for them. And
I do think...
hurt them.
I do want to give Levis if there is a silver lining, they've played some really good defenses the first
They
two weeks.
have.
The Bears
Yeah.
defense is showing a lot, as we know. The Jets defense last year especially was really good. They had that bad game versus San Fran, but they've definitely been tightening it up. And then the Packers defense have been great.
It's true.
Eh, eh.
They
Okay.
play Miami next week. I can see them winning that. I actually picked them.
It's fair.
Tennessee or Miami? I mean, with Skylar Thompson at quarterback and possibly Tim Boyle, I mean. Yeah, I mean, that's a toss-up, really. It could go either way.
Okay.
Okay.
At number 31, we have who arguably had the worst game this week, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, man. Let me tell you, I don't think anyone was even watching this game after halftime. I know Bills fans who stopped watching and went to go see the Commanders because Jaden Daniels was more exciting to watch than Trevor Lawrence. What was happening there?
Yeah,
I
I
will
stopped
say.
watching the game immediately, and I just told YouTube, I was like, just tell me when Mitch Trubisky gets in. That's all
Yeah,
I cared
right.
about at that point.
Money
And I mean,
Mitch.
he came in, Money Mitch came in, he put up one throw for 3 yards. What else can you really ask for?
Hey,
I do want to say, Trevor Lawrence, obviously, he's having some issues. He hasn't won since Thanksgiving. Part of it is like he's in his head a little bit.
yes.
I don't think the coaching there or the defense is helping him out though. I saw this stat. I saw this graphic that was displaying like all the Jaguars losses, like with Trevor Lawrence since like that losing streak started.
Mm-hmm.
A good majority of them, the defense let up 30 points plus. That's not good. And there were a couple games where it was D-Law's fault, but for the most part, like he wasn't playing bad football until he
I
had a
mean,
game or two last year. This year, obviously, like, you can't really excuse it, but like to start off the losing streak, that was definitely partially coaching and defense.
I mean, they went toe-to-toe with the Dolphins and, barely lost that game. But I think the real story at quarterback is, Mac Jones came into the game towards the end. He put up 8 throws for 5 catches and 22 yards. He also had a fumble, but it's Mac
So that
Jones.
fumble was funny. Like this was actually right at the start when he came in, and I kind of want to roll the clip because it was actually a really funny looking fumble. We scooped that up so fast, but Trevor Lawrence got taken out. Mac Jones came out. I was like, let's see what he's gonna cook. He didn't cook anything. He fumbled.
He
It was
did.
really funny. I liked it. All right.
All right. At 30, we have Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers. Wow. Andy Dalton had a game. 319 yards. What in
He
the
is the
world?
only quarterback this season to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
What did we say last week? Andy Dalton might just be him. He's got some revenge games coming up, and regardless of the fact that there are literally no name players on the Panthers, he's getting results. And granted, it may have been against the Raiders, but I have some faith.
I mean, yeah, Andy Dalton played good, but you also have to look at Chuba Hubbard. He came out, had 21 carries for over 100 yards, and he caught all 5 of his targets for 55 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he was also a key factor to this game.
Absolutely. He looked really good as well. And just the offense moves really well in general. Actually, the score was close to that indicated. It was like 33-7 at one point.
Yeah, it's insane.
And also, I think Dalton probably found his number one receiver in Deontay Johnson. He had 14 targets for 8 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, on a lower note, Xavier Legette, I mean, he had 3 targets, 2 catches, 42 yards. I mean, he's been a bright spot so far in this young Panthers team.
I can see this team going a lot higher on these power rankings, especially when we start talking about some of the teams that are above them. I can see them doing a lot more. All right, at 29, we have a team in a really rough spot, the Miami Dolphins. Man, we thought this team was iffy with Tua. Without Tua, they are not performing.
Ooh, it's bad. It is bad, and it's not even just the fact Tua is out. The team does not look like they did last year. McDaniel's coaching has been iffy. Before Tua went out, think about this. They won week 1, but they won by 1 against Jacksonville, and we're looking at Jacksonville now.
This is true.
That win doesn't have a good spot there. And then they got blown up by the Bills. Obviously, Tua went out that game, but he went out when it was like already like it was like 30 or it was like 24-10 or so. I don't know. It was a blowout by that point, and they looked even worse versus Seahawks.
Yeah, I
On the
mean,
penalties in that game in general.
you look at this game right here, they had nothing on offense. I mean, they only had 200 total yards. I mean, eh, you know, their running game was horrid, 30 or 60 total rushing yards. Hill came out, he only had 40 yards offensively, and Waddle only had 46 yards offensively. I mean, it was just a bad game. And Thompson, I mean, he had a slight injury scare right there in the game. Boyle had to come in and fill his shoes. I mean, it was just a bad, week for the Dolphins.
It was rough, and it's gonna continue to be
Really
rough
bad.
until they figure out that quarterback room. And even when they
They need
do,
to sign
they've
someone
still
bad.
got so many other problems.
They could sign Ryan Tannehill. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
I don't know who else is available.
I don't
But
I don't know who wants to see that, but it would
there's
be.
not a great QB room in free agency left.
All right, and coming in at number 28, a little disappointed they're this low, you have the New England Patriots. I don't know who was watching Thursday Night Football, but the Patriots did not show
That
up.
was.
Okay, Jacoby
I
Brissett did
turned it
not
off.
even make it past 100 passing yards. It
I
was
mean,
bad.
they had 139 yards of total offense. I mean, they're like,
And a decent chunk of that was
Rough.
Drake May when he came on the last drive too.
yeah,
Which
4 for 8,
decent chunk of
22.
130. It's not that impressive, but also he didn't look terrible.
Jacoby was
He-
just
he
getting
looked
beat
great.
up.
mishaps.
He was getting beat up. They had to put in Drake May. If they didn't, that man would have died on the field. I don't know why he was still playing that game. It was
Jacoby
bad.
Brisket's out and he's getting smoked.
Exactly.
Come on, Jacoby Brisket. You got to do better.
Jacoby
I mean,
Brisket.
they couldn't get anything going on offense. They did even worse than Miami. Antonio Gibson had 5 rushing attempts for 20 yards, and Stevenson had 6 for 23. I mean, it was bad. Their leading receiver was Demario Douglas.
Little bit of a fall, but obviously this is kind of where we expect them to be anyway. We didn't expect them to be a good team. The first 2 weeks were good. Little bit down to reality now. Hopefully they can muster out a couple more. I know I'm a Bills fan, but I do still want to see them making progress. As long as they're not overtaking us, that's okay.
I mean, they're a young team, and you always
Yeah.
want to see the young quarterbacks, especially. And I think Drake May is in a good spot, being on the bench for a little while. I think that's the way. I think that's the way rookie quarterbacks should normally play the game,
Yeah.
because as we've seen, it can do terrible things to them. Bryce Young, what? Anyways, number 27 and 26, we have a two-way tie between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants. So let's start with
The teams that played each other.
Browns. Yes. So let's start with the Browns. The Browns, I mean, Deshaun Watson,
He just doesn't want to play football.
No, he doesn't.
He's done. He's
we
done
all
with
know what he
football.
wants to be doing. But
This
it's just a
sucks.
shame. I mean, they weren't playing a terrible game, but it was against the Giants, and they lost.
But I mean, Malik Neighbors, what a performance from him. I mean,
Yes. Some of
eight
those
tou- 12
catches,
targets for 8 receptions, only 78 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns to the back, and he
I'll
had
give you-
some crazy body
He is
control
making-
in the end zone.
I'll
He's
give the viewers I'll give the listeners some context here. I'm 1 o'clock in. I went to Dave and Buster's. I was watching a bunch of the games. I looked at the Giants game for a minute. I saw Daniel Jones' end zone. I just see Neighbors making an elite level catch with insane body control in the end zone, like a twist catch. He's leaning. He gets the toe tap. I mean, if you want to roll the clip, it was an insane catch. I sent it to y'all right away. I took a picture. I was like, look at this man.
Nah, that's insane. It's both feet in. Look at this man. That's crazy.
He's playing out of his mind.
I mean,
He's making
playing out of his
Daniel
mind last week.
Jones
It's
look
insane.
good.
just when his second toe hit the ground, I mean, he's almost flat. I mean, it's just like Devontae Adams last week when he was practically laying flat on the ground. It was still a catch, and this one was for a touchdown.
I know you're saying he's making Daniel Jones look good. He looked good in general after this week. He went 24, 34, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a couple carries. I mean, he didn't throw a pick. He was playing good football, and having an elite wide receiver might actually give him I don't want to jump on it because it's Daniel Jones still, but I mean maybe he needed a receiver. I don't know. We'll
For
see what
those
happens.
reasons, I am voting to put the Giants above the Browns.
I mean, I agree. I don't see any reason to put them below when they beat them.
Yeah.
Either.
All right, number 25. Who would have thought that this team would be so low? The Cincinnati Bengals. 0-3, guys. What is going on?
Here's the thing, though. They're not even playing bad football. That's part of the thing. They're 0-3, but they're playing, particularly the offense the last game. They didn't punt. They didn't turn the ball over. Burrow had 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, 29 of 38. I mean, the offense was playing good. They had a slightly slow start in the beginning, but they were playing good football. It's just unfortunately that they're 0-3. They really, I say should have beat the Chiefs. They really were that close to beating the Chiefs. Washington's offense is just better. Their defense has issues, though.
Washington is looking pretty good. And
I mean, Jaden Daniels specifically.
yeah, we'll talk a lot more about him.
This is why they're higher than the other 0-3 teams, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm very sorry, especially if you're a Cincinnati fan, because you never want to see a team like this struggle the way they are. But the Bengals are also known to usually start off their seasons not the best. And while this might be one of the more extreme cases, I don't see them continuing to lose like this in the future. And if they do, then they have a lot of things
to be down here because they're 0-3.
They're 0-3, and I mean, they shouldn't be. And I don't think they'll remain losing, but
It's just the same trend as always with the Bengals. They always start out the season very weak and turn it around pretty quickly. So we'll just have to see how they develop as a unit.
yeah. Okay. Number 24, we have the team that lost to Andy Dalton, the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh my goodness. Minshew Mania was stopped cold.
You notice the trend of how bad all these teams down here are? I mean, the Bengals are playing good football, but they're 0-3. But the rest of them are they're sloppy. The Raiders have
Vegas beat Baltimore last week, and I think we expected more of them because of that coming into this game, and Andy Dalton just ripped them apart.
There's a lot of bad football happening. There's a lot of really good football happening, but right now there is a trend of a lot of bad football, and some of these power teams are really, they're either disappointing or they are taking over the top spots, and the rest of these teams are just not able to keep up. And
there's
Raiders
some
are
clips of there's some clips of Jacoby Jones, player on the Raiders, just not making tackles when he should have. I know, afterwards in the press conference, their coach pointed out, he said some people were playing out there making business decisions, and you look at his clips, and he just, instead of tackling people, he just kind of stands there, and he seems perfectly fine with it. It's just sloppy football from the Raiders, honestly.
It's inexcusable. And I mean, Devontae Adams, he just wants to go to the Jets and play with Aaron Rodgers. Everyone
He just
knows
wants to go anywhere. He wants to go anywhere else.
And Gardner Minshew is not even that bad, but
we brought this up last week, and we have a reel in the short and TikTok and whatnot about it. Before the week, Raiders coach Antonio Pierce, he was talking about the Panthers game. He was like, "We're not worried about the Panthers. We're just not falling in the trap." They fell in the trap. They fell in the trap real
They fell hard.
He's not happy about that. You can't be saying that, but like we talked about it too. We were like we were memeing them. We were memeing the Panthers, but they showed up.
Yeah, I mean, we might have been wrong about the Panthers, and I'm glad we were wrong about the Panthers because they're a young team and we love to see it. But it's also not entirely the Panthers being good. That because they won, and I know that's a big part of it, and that's great. But also the Raiders were that's just a game you can't lose. Like you very well can, but like you can't be losing that game. If you're losing that game, you have a lot of internal questions you have to be asking about your team. And the Raiders need to step it up because they've been in this spot for years. And at number 23, a team who had a great week, the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix.
That was
finally
quite the
showing
turnaround.
up. It's preseason Bo Nix again. You love to see it with these young guys.
He's back.
He is.
I mean, he honestly had a pretty good game. 25 to 36, 216 yards, 9 carries, 47 yards, a touchdown. Cortland Sutton and Batty had pretty good games. I'm gonna chalk this up and say that part of it's Bo Nix is developing. It's great. Also, Sean Payton just owns the Buccaneers. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
He's got some voodoo against the Buccaneers. They can't beat him.
Oh, it was great. Congratulations to the Broncos. I really hope that they keep improving. They're a fun young team right
Man.
now.
After their struggles with Russell Wilson, I mean, you just got to pray for them.
Nothing but the best for the Broncos. Okay, at number 22.
Oh, sorry, one more thing.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I'm just cutting you off. I just looked this up now. Sean Payton versus the Bucks. He is 7-0 since Bulls started calling the defense in 2019.
Wow.
Wow,
That
he just
I
knows what he
just
wants
looked
to
at
do.
it now. I was curious. That's crazy.
Hey, when you know how they operate, I mean, you know how they operate, and there's not much they could do. He clearly has them figured out.
Oh yeah.
Okay, at number 22, again, my apologies, the Chicago Bears O-line.
Thank you for including
That's
the
the
O-line part. That's really all it is.
It's not the Chicago Bears, it's just their O-line.
I mean, the offensive line has been. It has been.
It's
And honestly, our coaching isn't much better.
it's hard
just-
to watch. I mean,
It is. Trust me.
I
I
know.
know how hard it is to truly watch. I'm going out there. I'm having high hopes, and I'm watching Caleb Williams get destroyed immediately. And when he's not getting destroyed, he is tearing up defenses. He did have two
Oh, for
picks.
sure.
Caleb
He did have
Williams,
2 picks, but I will say about those 2 picks, one of them was not completely on Caleb. It was on Rome Odunze. And
Caleb Williams, we have to
But-
talk about him because he is a very talented player, and he had an incredible game against Indianapolis, despite what the score might imply. 363 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yes, there were 2 interceptions. I mean,
He
despite
also had
the
52
O-line,
pass attempts.
that's
he did
crazy.
52 pass attempts.
That's crazy. I mean, he's making the best of a terrible situation. I respect him for that. I hate that he got drafted into that situation. He does not deserve that.
He's in a great situation in every regard except for the offensive line and our
Yeah.
offensive play calling. Like, I mean, we didn't. I don't think any as Bears fans thought that our O line would be this bad. I mean, we saw significant improvement last season, especially when we drafted Darnell Wright. We saw drastic improvement, and they've just completely just flipped the script and reversed, and it's horrible. It's gonna be the same thing that happened to Justin Fields. I said this last week. I'm gonna say it again this week. If our O line doesn't step it up, he's gonna get riddled with injuries early, and it's gonna heavily stint his development.
Yeah, the same thing happened to Justin Fields, and then he got booted, even though Justin Fields is still a good quarterback. I do
He's an
want
incredible quarterback.
a quick segue here. Obviously, Roman Deans, you were talking about him not having strong hands. He's also a rookie. Both of their first touchdowns were on the same play. Who
Yes,
gets
they
that
both
game
had
ball?
the impact. That celebration was great. I mean, Rome wasn't letting go of it. I think he's taking that one. I mean, that was just a good play. I mean, it was good. The celebration was great. We'll roll it now. And I just want to touch on another point right here. Caleb Williams in week 3, when he had a clean pocket to throw from, he was 29 for 43 for 330 yards, 15 first downs. He had 2.31 his average time to throw was 2.31 seconds. That's all he needs. He just needs just more than 2 seconds, and he had a touchdown.
And this
I
is
mean,
going to
those are
kind of
great
bring us
stats.
into number 21, which is the Indianapolis Colts, who beat the Bears.
Oh,
And
yeah.
by all means, Anthony Richardson did not play nearly as well as Caleb Williams that game.
No.
167
No,
yards,
not at
also
all.
two interceptions, a couple carries. He was 10 for 20. It's not an amazing
He
game.
just chucked that ball.
Our weakest point on defense in that game was just stopping the run. Jonathan Taylor ran all over us. He had 23 attempts for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. Trey Sermon came in, had 2 attempts for 16 yards and his own touchdown. But in the air, they were getting nothing done. Pittman had 4 catches off 5 targets for only 30 yards. And Alec Pierce, who is seeming to be Richardson's favorite target, had 2 targets for 1 catch and 44 yards.
I
The
know
the
the
defense is
Bears
playing
had some
spectacularly.
they had some run defense issues against the Titans, if I remember correctly. Tony Pollard
Tony
went
Pollard
crazy.
ran all over us
No.
again.
It's not to the point where it's like insanely bad, but they have a little bit of tightening up to do. But that's like a minor complaint. You have the offensive line to worry about,
We
especially a
we
lot more than
knew
that.
we knew as Bears fans going into this season that our defensive line was by far the weakest point of our defense. I'm honestly surprised we didn't do that much to invest in it in the offseason, but
Yeah.
otherwise, I mean, we're great. We had a couple injury scares. Stevenson was down for a little bit. He came back fine. Johnson was having some troubles, but he came back fine. And Billings was on the ground for a bit, but again, he got up and he was fine. So we just have to. I think just the D line, man, just got to get that run down, and offensively, just that offensive line. We're talking about the Colts right now, though.
Yeah, so I mean, purely just because really the only reason the Colts take this spot is because of what that final score was and just Anthony Richardson and that run game. It it could not be stopped.
The Colts, I mean, I'll say one more thing about our offensive line. The Colts have one of the worst defensive lines in the league. It's just that they're very low on the list, and our offensive line made them look like a top 10 defensive line. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I've got to say about this game.
Credit where credit's due. The Colts aren't much better, but they do take the 21 spot. All
For
right,
now.
for now, yes. At number 20, we have arguably one of the most exciting games to watch. We have the LA Rams.
Ooh, that was a good game. I was watching the end of that one. I was like, imagine the Rams came back here. And then we were talking about like the missed field goal and then he missed it. I was like, oh, they're coming back now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as soon as he missed that field goal, I was like, they're coming back. They're not gonna stop now.
Oh yeah, the Rams. I mean, they're injured, and last week they took a huge beating from Arizona.
They're missing
But
both Cup and
Oh yeah, you
Puka.
know about that.
okay, um, but despite that, I mean, they adjusted and they came and won a game against the 49ers. Granted, they're an injured 49ers team, but they're still the 49ers, and it's not like the Rams were in a much better spot. Kyron Williams, he had an incredible game. Um, we love to see it. Well, I don't love to see
He
it. I
did play
hate
well.
that man. He's like the second worst running back for my team, second to Christian McCaffrey. Um, but I mean, he's young. He's a good player. It's fun to watch. Somersaulted over a guy.
Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
Matt Stafford
he had a
continuing
flip
to be
into the
clutch
end
in the
zone for
fourth
one of his
quarter.
tutties. And Tutu Atwell, 4 catches, 93 yards, and he was 0 for 1 passing.
Yeah.
Very
He can
pivotal,
pass the ball. I
pivotal
forgot
stat.
about that. Yeah, no, that was game changing there. That was actually that might have been more game changing than the comment from TikTok, Mr.
100%.
Dillon.
100%.
Ugh.
Um, you know, I mean, Matt Stafford, he does what he does. He's clutch in the fourth quarter. He's made plenty of comebacks, but I mean, he keeps doing it. He did it with an injured supporting cast. They looked good. I mean, towards the end of that game, obviously they got in a hole, but they came back. They found a way to
They
win.
did.
That's all that matters.
Okay, number 19, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who did almost come back, but they did
What a
not.
team. What a team.
All I gotta say, how about them Cowboys?
Now we have to look at the stats of this game because Dak Prescott threw for 379 yards, 2
379 and 2
touchdowns.
touchdowns on top of that. 51 pass attempts, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, his percentages were not amazing, but he has the offense to make up for it. CeeDee Lamb, he did pretty well despite his fumble. Ugh.
I wouldn't say pretty well is a good descriptor there. I mean, he just got a bag and he had 4 catches for 67 yards, and he fumbled. The true receiver that really shined was Cavante Turpin. He had 3 targets, 3 receptions, 50 yards, and a touchdown.
That's true. I like that, man. He's coming out of the XFL, USFL. I can't remember which one right now, but he was doing like kick return stuff, and now he's actually getting some plays on the offense. Nice to see.
And another thing too, Ezekiel Elliott. He had 3 attempts for 6 yards. I see
You
this
really
man
got him with
retiring
that,
after the
Gary.
season. I think he's retiring this season. I think the reason why he came
Yeah.
to Dallas this year is to retire as a Cowboy. He's not who he is. He's not who he used to be.
You never love to see
know,
it, but
Zeke played pretty bad, but I will say Jerry Jones had a worse comment comparatively to his play on an Instagram reel of a Cowboys player. He was talking about Cowboys players' sizes.
Oh,
yep,
yeah.
yeah, I remember that.
It was funny to watch. I just saw it a little bit ago. Like I heard it was
He was
circling
with
around, but
Jamie
I finally
Foxx.
saw the video. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Foxx was streaming. Second, he started making comments. He ended his stream.
it's crazy. Anyway, that summarizes the Cowboys. The Ravens
Pretty
almost
much.
choked, but that's more of a Ravens thing than a Cowboys coming back.
Yeah. Okay, number 18, we have the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good.
Aaron Rodgers actually looked pretty good. I mean, that he threw his first touchdown to a first-round receiver in his entire career.
This is pretty cool. Cool to
Crazy
see.
stat.
You love it.
Garrett Wilson is stepping up. I think he hasn't been performing as we expected him to going into the season, and I mean, he had a really good game.
I do have a sneaking suspicion that people will think this is a low placement for the Jets. At least in my take, I had them around this range. I thought about it. I had them higher, and I kind of dropped them. They've only beat the Titans and the Patriots. They've looked good in the process. They got blown up by the Niners. I just want to see more. I know they're a better team than this, but I want them to keep putting it together, obviously.
I agree.
I
The
will
Titans game was
say
a little too close for where they are.
their backfield is shaping up to look pretty scary. Braylon
Oh,
Allen
yeah.
and Breece Hall each had Allen had 11 attempts, Breece Hall had 16 attempts. They had 55 and 54 yards. They are shaping up to be a scary backfield duo. They're both young too. They're both young players. Obviously, Hall had that big injury was it an ACL injury last season or season before, but he seems to be bouncing back just fine. And now he has
Oh, yeah.
Allen to help take off some of that load.
It's good to see because Brees Hall is a very talented running back. I liked watching him when he was healthy, and obviously he went down, but he's picking it right back up. I mean, he's looking good, and that Braylon Allen too. I mean, they're running the ball very efficiently, and not to discredit the passing game either. Aaron Rodgers had 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, and whatnot.
All right. And up next for 17, 16, and 15, we have a three-way tie. And I really like this matchup.
First three-way tie.
First three-way tie between the Atlanta Falcons, the Washington Commanders,
Ooh.
and the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh.
All right, so let's start with the Falcons. Okay. The Falcons Should have won that game.
That was
And
a that
unfortunately,
was an experience.
can't even blame the refs for that one because that was just a bad run at the end. Okay, well, the refs definitely had a lot to do with
Well, I
that
mean,
game.
there was a
But
PI in the end
They
zone.
should have
yeah,
scored a
But
touchdown, but
okay, but
Falcons
this
did get another chance. Yeah.
that's just a bad run. I mean, you guys should go check out the reel we put out that game. Those were Alex and Ian's live reactions to those last two plays by the Falcons. It's
I mean,
I
terrible.
don't
it's the
understand.
third week in a row that the Chiefs game has come down to the final possession. Third week in a row. Granted, they've
Final
played some
possession. Two of them are
pretty
ref ball,
strong.
but
They've played some pretty strong opponents, but this isn't about the Chiefs right now. This is about the Falcons. We will talk about the Chiefs later. Kirk Cousins had himself a decent game. He was 20 for 29, 230, a touchdown, interception. Algier and Robinson, I think they're a scary backfield duo, and I don't think they performed to the standard we expected. Robinson obviously had a touchdown, but they were both held to under 35 yards. And receiving wise, again, not very impressive. London had 6 catches off 9 targets, 67 yards, touchdown. And now, my personal Prince of Charm, Darnell Mooney, had 8 receptions off 8 targets and 66 yards.
he looked good in that game. Like
He
he
looked
was pulling
very
in
good.
good. He was making some good routes. He was pulling in the balls. I mean, he was going crazy. It was fun to watch, and I did like him going off because he definitely had a down year or two in Chicago before he left, and
It
it's
made
good
me
to see
very
him.
happy seeing him succeed. I mean, I've loved Darnell Mooney, and it felt good seeing him go
I
out and have
do
himself a
want to.
decent game.
We did talk about the plays. It's just the fact they did the correct run with the wrong running back, and then just a terrible play call with the right running.
Yeah.
I know Algier's still good, but give it to Bijan on 3rd and 1. Come on.
Yeah, not on
And
that
then they called an
play.
out run on 4th and 1.
That
I
was
just
actually
I
worse.
don't see any scenario on fourth and short where you don't just try your best to force it up the middle.
Force up the middle, you can even.
Not when the
I
game's
think
on
it
the
was
line.
force up the
Especially when you got
knee,
Bijan
but
right there. Especially when you got Bijan, but instead you do a deep stretch left, and it's against a defense like the Chiefs. That's just not going to work. It's just
no.
not going to
It
work.
was also. I think I see the vision where they go a little to the left, but they went way too deep. That was so far to the one side, and they were not getting it. They had to make he had to make multiple men
He
miss
had to
get
run an
there.
additional 5 yards. It was 4th and 1. He probably got the ball 6 yards deep in the backfield.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like it's a
No.
1 yard play.
I mean, at that point, just QB sneak it as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
there's
get
just
that.
better options. I just think the stretch left was not the correct move at all.
No, it wasn't.
Now, speaking of bird teams, and obviously the tie, Baltimore,
Baltimore
they
almost choked.
again.
They, messed up against the Chiefs. They came out and they lost to the Raiders, and now they almost lost
Choke.
to a struggling Dallas Cowboys team.
That was almost John Harbaugh's 11th loss when leading by 10 or more points, and I think it's since 2020. There's a stat that was talking about that 2018 to 2020 range. Since then, it's the most in the NFL by far, and like he has some bad tendencies. He's got some questionable characteristics. The fact they almost choked
And the
like
only
a
reason why they didn't, the only reason why they
23
didn't is
point lead.
because the only reason why they didn't choke out was because of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry came
Yeah.
out, ran the ball 25 times, had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Derrick Henry, the king, carried that game for sure.
And Lamar too. Lamar actually played pretty decent on the ground. He had 14 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown of his own.
What else
in
is
the
new for
air,
Lamar?
in the air, he only had 12 completions, but of those 12 completions, he got 180 yards and a touchdown of his own.
The fact is,
Notably, no one really notably, the ball was very spread around, but Nelson Aguilar, the name that people don't really hear anymore, had himself a catch for 50 yards. Andrews came out, had 1 target. Likely had 1 target, which he hauled in for 4 yards, and then Bateman had 4 targets, which he hauled 3 in, at 20 yards, and he had the only touchdown in the air.
This
The
was a
fact-
big
the-
Henry game, big running game.
Big running game.
the
I will
fact is
say-
with this team, I can't see myself putting them above 17 at all when
No.
they're 1-2, and their losses were, ugh, and their only win they almost choked away to the Dallas Cowboys. I can't.
They almost choked it too. And I will say, give credit where it's due. That play call at the end, the fake jet sweep to give Lamar the ball, that was a genius play call.
Yes,
But it
was good.
that goes wrong, and then I think it would have been third down at that point. If it's like going real wrong, if it's third and long or something, like they were close to giving Dallas the ball back.
Yeah.
What was the
And
other
then-
team in the tie?
And then we have the Washington Commanders. The Commanders
yes,
and Jaden Daniels. We were talking
What a
last
guy.
week about how we wanted to see more from him and how we wanted him to be able to let loose, and
Hey, listen,
he let loose.
And it wasn't even just that. I mean, we wanted to see more of the Daniels-McLaurin connection, and it looks strong in this game. I think there's still more to be desired, but I mean, it looked a lot better than it did in the first 2 weeks. McLaurin had 6 targets. He hauled 4 of those in for 100 yards and a touchdown.
Now, as a
I
Cardinals
mean,
fan,
he looked good. Yeah.
despite how much any Cardinals fan has nothing but hatred for Cliff Kingsbury, there is no doubt in any of our minds that he is incredible at developing young quarterbacks. And that quarterback wide receiver bond is something that he is incredible at developing. We saw it with Kyler Murray and D Hop, despite all of the failures of the franchise under his head coaching. He is a genius offensive mind, and he knows how to work with the young quarterbacks and the wide receivers. He knows how to make that connection, and he develops them really well. And while I don't think that served him very well as a head coach in the offensive
No.
coordinator position, I think he's doing pretty well.
I would say that's a big part of his job now. He doesn't have to do the time management stuff that he was terrible at in the defense.
Oh my
stuff.
gosh.
And considering they won the game in the first time in 80 years where no one punted and no one turned the ball over. They won that game. I'd give Jaden Daniels only had 2 incompletions. He was going crazy in this game.
And those 2 incompletions were from McLaurin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And while Christian McCaffrey is injured, his brother, rookie Luke McCaffrey, hauled in 3. He had 3 receptions, caught all of them, and he had himself 44 yards.
Good for him.
And now, for the stat line of the week, we have Tyler
so
Scott.
many bits now.
1 target, 1 catch, for 1 yard and 1 touchdown. Give it up to Tyler Scott.
1-1-1-1.
What a
That
performance.
man. That is incredible.
I mean, you look at his stat line. That was a big difference in the game.
It was.
Yard reception for a touchdown. It put them up. It may not have been the game-winning touchdown, but it was a touchdown that contributed to their success.
It was.
And doing that with 1-1-1-1, that's impressive.
Williams put his faith in him on the goal line, and he succeeded.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, based off of all that, for my rankings, as long as you two would agree, I would put 17. It's the Ravens. 16.
I'm going to say Atlanta at 17.
Alex, what are your thoughts for 17?
What are you putting 16?
16. I was going to put
Washington, Baltimore, Atlanta.
I was going to do Washington, Atlanta, Baltimore.
Okay, so Washington's going to be 15 because
Washington is 15.
100%.
Yeah, I'm putting Atlanta higher. I think considering they beat the Eagles and their Steelers loss doesn't look nearly as bad now.
The reason why I'm putting Baltimore higher is I'm just looking at the way their respective games against the Chiefs ended.
That is fair.
Against the Chiefs,
Sure.
the final play of the game for the Atlanta was a
Terrible play call.
Was a stretch to the left on 4th and 2, whereas the final play for the Ravens against Kansas City was an end zone ball that was decided by a toe.
Kevin Durant.
That's for me why Baltimore is above Atlanta.
Okay, so we have 17 is the Ravens, 16 is the Falcons, and 15 as the Commanders. At number 14, a team that I think is a little bit high right now, but that's okay, are the San Francisco 49ers. They have taken a beating.
Ultimately, that's the reason why they're where they are. We're giving them the
Yeah.
benefit of the doubt. You know, they're missing, again, Samuel, Kittle, and McCaffrey. But Jawan Jennings stepped up. He stepped up. He had 3 touchdowns.
You did.
And so we're just kind of
They
giving
were,
them the benefit of the doubt. They were still up big against the Rams. They ended up
yes.
choking the game, but they did that without their biggest offensive weapons. So it's
I
just a
think a
matter of whether those
sleeper
guys are
thing to
healthy.
note.
They're still going to be a dangerous team as they have been.
I think a sleeper thing to note too is their close game against the Vikings. But I mean, yeah, the Niners went off.
Yeah. All right. Number 13, we have the LA Chargers. How do we feel about this?
Quentin Johnson has learned to play football.
He knows how to catch a football. He's not Kadarius Stoney.
He has learned how to play football. He came out, he had 2 receptions for 44 yards and a touchdown.
They did have a lot of injuries in that game, which definitely I think it impacted the result a little bit. It was an even game, and players went down. Herbert, I think, went out. Like they had a couple other players go out.
Another thing
They
to note
played.
too, their
Oh, yeah.
rookie Mad McConkey, he came out, had 6 targets, caught 3 of them and had 44 yards. Just a note on the rookie right there.
They did play a good game though, and it was a close one versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah. All right. Number 12, exactly where they were last week, the Arizona Cardinals. That was it was a tough game for the Cardinals. I know all of us are now terrified of the 2-minute warning. That was stupid, and everyone knows it. But it's okay. One score game against the Detroit Lions was a loss.
Can you? I remember watching that. Can you give me a rundown on what even happened with the 2-minute warning?
I can. So, it's the first half. The 2-minute warning is counting down, and the Lions want to get a snap off before the 2-minute warning hits. Don't really know why, but they are rushing onto the field to get that snap. With 2 minutes and 1 second on the clock, Jared Goff gets the snap off and tries to throw the ball. I don't remember who it was to.
That's right.
Dennis Gardeck, I'm pretty sure it was, gets a pick and scores a touchdown. It's a pick 6. Now the refs say that the play does not count because Jared Goff was not able to snap the ball before the 2-minute warning.
That's right.
Before
And
the 2-minute warning happened. Now there is no way that you can challenge that ruling. There's no way that it can be reviewed. If that's what the ref says, that's what it is. The announcers looked at it. The analysts looked at it. It was clear that there was 2 minutes and 1 second left on the clock. But there's nothing anyone could do about it. So that drive ended up being a touchdown, and it wasn't a very incredible drive. Very nice plays happening, but that's a 14-point difference right there, and that just kills your momentum.
Another thing you have to look at for this game, though, is Marvin Harrison kind of regressed a little bit. He came out last week, had a record-breaking performance. He came into this game, he had 11 targets, and he only brought in 5 of them for 60 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Six of the passes weren't completed.
He is a rookie, so he's gonna have those games, and he didn't even have a bad game. He just needs to bring in more of those catches.
I mean, we see this all the time with this Cardinals team specifically, and I do like why ever since D-Hop left, Kyler Murray has openly said that his connection with Harrison is like that with D-Hop, but it's also clear that when he was with D-Hop, he was too dependent on him. So that once Hopkins got injured and then eventually left, he had to find new targets. And I think what Kyler Murray is trying to do is make sure that he always has those options. And I think that's why he's utilizing Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, who had 64 yards, 8 of his 9 catches. It was pretty good. Um, and I do like that. That it is also hard when you have such a talented rookie receiver like Marvin Harrison,
Right.
which you're not always using. And to be fair, he did not have the best game. 11 targets, 5 catches. Not incredible.
They have a lot of talent on that offense in general, though, and I think it's good that he's spreading the ball around. And that's kind of from a Bills standpoint, just very quick segue. Similar issue with when Diggs is on the team, and I think it's good to spread the ball around. It opens up the offense. You can't just cover one guy and then like it's opening up the offense. And obviously he has his leg too. They have a lot of offensive potential. Obviously they only put up 13 points, but they didn't play a bad game. The Lions are a good team. You kept it within one score, and you got to respect the fact that the Lions, one of the touchdowns was like a hook and ladder play. Like that's pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
You can't be mad about that.
I was so mad and so amazed at the same time, and I would not have been mad at that at all if it weren't for the 2-minute warning thing. Lots of talent on that side of the ball, and I look forward to seeing what the Cardinals do in the future, obviously. But, number 11.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm a Cards-aholic. I'm sorry, guys. At number 11, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who got owned by the Broncos.
Yeah, that was a game for sure.
That was a game that happened.
I don't have much to say about them except for the fact that defense let Bo Nix go wild, and the offense could not move the ball for the life of them.
This is
I
true.
mean, the
They won't get
Broncos
that.
defense held Mike Evans to 2 receptions and 12 yards.
Yeah?
That's
Mike
pretty good.
Evans, that's a big deal right there.
Certain.
Now, luckily, the Bucks do have that, pretty good receiving room. Godwin stepped up. He had 6 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown. Cade Otton did pretty good. He had 7 receptions for 40 yards. But other than that, it just wasn't really not good offensive or defensive showing by the Buccaneers.
No. Okay, at number 10, we have the Houston Texans, who also had an awful game this week against Minnesota. We're going to be talking a lot about Minnesota, pretty high up there.
CJ Stroud, he was going out. He was giving Caleb Williams a talk, and then he got the talk from Sam Darnold.
Yikes.
Yeah, he tried talking to Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams came out this week and outperformed him by a mile.
Still lost, though.
Which, obviously,
but
I don't think Stroud.
No, yeah, it's still.
Stroud means to. I don't think Stroud actually means to be like.
No,
He's
he
not
definitely
mean,
didn't.
but
He definitely
it's
didn't. It
still
just seemed
funny.
that way, and it was really funny. So, gotta take note of that.
Another note, too, Nico Collins, he had quite the fall off from last week to this week. He came in this week, he had 10 targets, only 4 receptions and 80 yards. Granted, he still did average over 20 yards at reception, but only 4 catches after the performance last week. This time the ball was going to Stephon Diggs. He had 10 catches for 94
I gotta
yards.
ask, what
He
is
also
this?
completed a pass
Let's
for
not
13
say-
yards.
Let's
Let's
not
ask,
say
what
this
is
man's
this?
name. He who shall not be named had 10 catches on 12 targets for 94 yards.
Out of all of the
He does
players in
not
the
get his
NFL,
name said.
he who must not be named is Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not like
crazy
Deshaun
thing.
Watson.
This is just for me. Okay, that's true, but just for me. Well, but Deshaun Watson's not even a good football player. It doesn't really matter if we say his name.
Okay, but neither is Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
He's better than Deshaun Watson, but
I won't be saying his name, but you can find
Okay,
it better. He will
well,
not be saying
yeah, what is this about him having a completion for 13 yards? I wasn't watching this
Stephon
game.
Diggs
What happened?
He threw a pass. It was caught. He got a 13-yard gain.
Wow.
Stephon Diggs is the only person to have a 100% completion percentage this week.
Highlight to he who must not be named, I guess. Okay, numbers 9 and 8. We do have another tie. This one I also like. It is a battle of the bird teams. We have the Seattle Seahawks and the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, Seahawks, slightly unproven, but they are 3-0.
They just played weak teams, honestly. They've just played weak teams.
I mean, they did play weak teams, but I will give them credit that I mean, they did still have an incredible performance against the Dolphins. Even though they were injured, I still think it's worth noting that they are a good team. I don't think I would put them above the Eagles, but I think it's at least for now, I think they've earned their place here.
Geno Smith, he had 289 yards, which is great, and a touchdown, but he also threw 2 picks. Charbonnet is stepping up in his role as RB1 with Walker being injured. He came out, he had 18 attempts for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. Metcalf, he played decent. He had, 4 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. And Noah Fant came out, 6 receptions, 60 yards.
Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Eagles, that was an interesting game. Dallas
It was an
Goddard,
interesting game.
he had a great game. Um,
He did. I had him in fantasy. It was fun.
oh, I bet it was. Was it against me?
No, actually, it wasn't. It was a different
Okay,
league.
that's good.
But
Alex beat me in fantasy this week, by the way.
I've been doing good in
By a
fantasy
lot.
in my 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I beat both of you.
So Saquon, he did really well. He ran the fastest he ever has and the longest touchdown he has in 5 years, both in the same play, which is pretty incredible. That was the Eagles' only score for a while. Dallas Goddard, 7 catches in the first half, and I mean that's more than he even had in the first 2 weeks combined. So finally started using
Same
him.
amount, but yeah.
And he finished off the game 10 for 11 with 170 yards.
Just incredible.
Barkley had himself a game too. He finished the game 17 carries, 147 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The only 2 touchdowns they had offensively. At all
Saquon
in the
was
entire
really
game.
going at it. I'm gonna put the Eagles above the Seahawks
100%.
I agree.
because the
The
Eagles have been
Seahawks
playing
strength
quality
is deadly.
opponents, and that's just what it's got to come down to. I mean, yeah, it's tough.
Seahawks do get a quality opponent this week, though. I mean, if they beat the Lions,
They
then
beat the
we'll be
Lions.
talking. We'll be talking up there. But you gotta show us a game versus a team that's not in the bottom 5,
I can guarantee that this time
8.
next week, the
Grab it, Brian.
Seahawks will not be at number 9. They will either be up or way down. Only time will tell.
Yeah, there's no green.
All right, number 7, we have the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are in
Green Bay mother-loving Packers.
Packers are in an interesting spot. Malik Willis is doing pretty well for himself. 202 yards. I mean, that's not bad. I'll give him that.
You just gotta wait until Jordan Love, Ian's favorite quarterback besides Aaron Rodgers, comes back.
We know
You
how
love
much you
Jordan
love, we
Love.
know how much you love Patrick Mahomes.
You definitely think he deserves it.
Yeah, but we all love Patrick Mahomes. He's our
Of course.
favorite.
Ugh,
Baloney.
hate that guy.
Another story with this Packers team right here is Josh Jacobs came off a huge rushing week, and he wasn't even the
Yeah.
leading rusher in this game. Emmanuel Wilson had 12 attempts for 50 yards, and he also had 2 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown, whereas Josh Jacobs only had 14 carries for 43 yards.
I'll tell you what. Before this game, I was like, when I was seeing this, I was like, who? It's Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Packers going against Minnesota
Yeah.
next week will be exciting.
the NFC North is crazy right now.
Very strong division. Once the
Sorry,
Bears figure out
Ian.
their offensive line, we will be back in it. Don't you worry. Offensive line and play calling will be fixed within the next 2 weeks, and we will be back in it. I promise.
I mean,
I'm
honestly,
gonna
if y'all
quote you
get
on
it
that,
fixed by
and
the end of the
if
year,
2
I'll
weeks
take
from
it.
now it hasn't been fixed, I'm gonna replay that several times. I just
Then
need you
I
to know
will-
that.
And I will cry, probably.
Crying makes for good content, so it's okay.
Ha.
All right, number 6. Get it like us last week? Because you're poverty. Your O-line is poverty.
Oh yeah.
At number 6, we have Ian's favorite quarterback, Justin Fields, and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Justin Fields.
Let me tell you, this is
What a
still
performance from Fields so far.
This is still not good football to watch, but they're performing, and no one
I mean,
knows
Fields has
why.
been performing great. He in this game, he had 25 completions, 245 yards, a touchdown. He did have a pick, but he also had
First of the season.
6 carries for another touchdown.
Yeah,
And I get, well, I think people are like, obviously the defense is the strong point in Pittsburgh, but the offense is not bad. They've only turned the ball over once, and that definitely helps substantially. They're playing smart football, and in
they
this game
are.
they did.
Yeah,
Fields specifically, Fields is playing great.
for sure, he is. We love to see it.
I just feel like we keep coming back to how great Fields is playing.
We glaze Fields on this podcast, and we do
I
it
think
proudly.
I think ultimately
Oh
the
yes.
Steelers' success comes down to Justin Fields. And I feel like we just keep coming back to that point of Justin Fields is amazing.
Okay, we do
You know,
have to
Justin
mention.
Fields and TJ
some of
Watt's
that
aura.
performed
Okay,
really
okay.
well in
Before
this
we
game
hold
actually
on,
is
hold on.
Justin
We
Fields.
we can't keep glazing Justin Fields without even mentioning T.J. Watt's name, guys.
You're right. You're right. We need to
T.J.
stop talking about
Watt.
Justin Fields. We need
They're
to stop
not
talking about Justin
all.
Fields and focus our attention on Justin Fields. I mean, he had a heck of a game today.
Ian,
You're right.
I get
No more
it.
Justin Fields. No more Justin Fields.
I know Justin Fields is good, but TJ Watt's aura and Matt
He's
Boswell.
him, and he's
TJ
having a
Watt played great.
baby, dude.
Chris Boswell. Did I say Matt Boswell? Anyway, whatever.
It's fine.
I'm thinking Matt Prater at the same time for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yo,
You know,
my
I'm thinking,
goat.
I'm thinking Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields had himself a game.
He did. I mean, so yeah.
We're gonna have to post a little short of how many times I said Justin Fields.
I
Get
can't
a little
even
Justin
believe I
Fields
didn't.
counter going.
I can't
Oh my
even
God.
believe I didn't mention Matt Prater. Man, shout out to him
He
for getting
might-
1,800 career points.
Great point. I don't know how I haven't mentioned Justin Fields yet.
Okay, Ian,
I mean,
respectfully,
he
we're
played
moving
great.
on from the Steelers. At number 5,
He
we
might
have
see Justin Fields more than we see Taylor Swift.
no, absolutely not.
It
Nope.
might get to that point. I'm gonna be honest. It might get to that point.
Okay, nope. At number 5, we have the Detroit Lions, who put up a dominant performance against the Arizona Cardinals and very kindly injured Trey McBride. Yay!
Well,
And Buda Baker, but that's fine.
Their receiving, or not their receiving, their backfield. Their backfield's a problem. It's been a problem. It's continuing to be a problem. Montgomery,
It wouldn't have
I love
been a problem if
Montgomery
it weren't
as
for
a
the
Bear.
2-minute warning.
Listen, okay, either way, you look at it either way. Montgomery came out,
He did.
23 attempts, 105 yards and a touchdown, and then Jahmyr Gibbs also had 16 attempts and 83 yards. Their running game has just been on another level last year and this year, and it
Their
continues to
passing game got into it this game too. They were having a little bit of a passing slump trying to figure it out, but they played good.
They did.
Hook and
I
ladder
can't lie. They're a really good team.
there.
Okay, number 4, we have the New Orleans Saints. Saints, it just wasn't clicking against the Eagles
Listen.
except for their defense.
They may have lost by 3 points, but they have put up 100 total points in 3 weeks of play. They shut down 2 really big offensives in Dallas and Philadelphia. It's just disrespectful to put them lower. They may have lost, but again, they've just been putting up such great performances. This week wasn't as great offensively, but the
I
defense is
think
continuing
they're
to stay
lower than
dominant.
Detroit, but like they're still up.
This entire game was a complete show off of these two teams' defenses, and I mean, they were outstanding.
Very
I mean, the
much so.
Saints really just need,
Easily two of the
I mean,
top
offense had a bad
defenses.
game, but
Kamara
Yeah.
came out. Kamara's performed all 3 weeks so far. He came out this week, 26 attempts, 87 yards. He had 3 receptions for 40 yards. And Olave as well. He caught all 6 of his targets, 86 yards and a touchdown.
can we talk about my fantasy goat real quick? That definitely carried me to a win. Definitely not a loss this week. Rashid Shaheed.
Rashid Shaheed, Fantasy King, 0 for 5 this week.
Oh
Dude.
man.
I didn't even
bet
want to
you a
start him,
lot of
but
I bet you a lot of fantasy teams, if he wasn't already picked up, I bet you he was picked up in a lot of leagues, probably started in a lot of leagues, and he came out just did not do. He literally did nothing.
goose egg. Goose egg.
Okay. At number 3, we have Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings.
Let me tell you what, this offense is almost as electric as I am. I mean, they are going out and playing football, and the defense as well. Oh my God, Brian Flores is
Wow.
coaching this team to some success. We'll start with the offense because Sam Darnold just had another casual 4 touchdown game because that's what Sam Darnold
That's,
typically does on an
yeah,
average
I
week for
mean,
sure.
obviously. I'm sure Ian is loving
Um,
this, by the way. Ian is just like eating all of this up. Okay, but Sam Darnold, 181 yards, 4 touchdowns. It was incredible. I mean, Justin Jefferson, always performing.
Aaron Jones continuing to run the ball in the NFC North very effectively.
This is an effective offense. I mean, they're getting the work in, and their defense was able to hold CJ Stroud to 1 touchdown.
This is an incredibly coached team. Incredibly coached team. I mean,
Kevin
Brian
McConnell has
Flores,
definitely stepped into that role, and he's performed very well as the head coach.
absolutely. Brian Flores is a great defense coordinator. Kevin O'Connell, he's been an insanely great head coach. He is with the Vikings in his tenure. When the turnover differential is even or in the Vikings' favor, he's 20-0. 20-0 as a coach. Now, granted, turnover game, but that also speaks to, like, obviously they had a couple quarterback issues last year, injuries, Kirk Cousins, so turning over the ball happened. 20-0 though, when the turnover differential is even or in the Vikings' favor, that is extremely impressive.
What that really attests to is just the Vikings' ability to get points off the turnover.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the time they get the turnover, they convert it into solid points for their team, which is obviously what contributes to the wins right there.
Okay.
Outstanding play for the Vikings.
Oh, incredible. And up next, we have our final tie of this week. For 1 and 2 between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Ooh.
All right.
Wow. First
Listen,
off,
I had the Buffalo Bills at number 1 last week, but I dropped them to number 2 this week simply because between the Chiefs and the Bills, the Chiefs have played tougher opponents and they've won all their games, whereas the Bills have played the Dolphins, who they'd injured Tua in that game, and then they faced a very, very weak Jacksonville Jaguars team. I just need to see a little bit more out of them. Obviously, we all know the Bills are a great team. We know Josh Allen is a spectacular quarterback. I just think once they go,
awesome Cardinals team. And an
I just think once they go toe to toe with a bigger team, then they'll definitely take that number 1 spot.
Okay, I put the Bills at number 2 for my same reasoning that I did in the week before. It's just about it's the championship advantage, and I just need the Chiefs to lose 1 game, and the Bills will take spot number 1. I just need them to lose once, but the fact is that they are going against incredible opponents, and whether it's their fault or not, they have the power. Whether that be the refs or their own skill, I'll leave that up to the viewer.
This week will be a big determination of who takes that number 1. The Chiefs are going into LA and facing the Chargers, and the Bills are going to Baltimore and facing the Ravens. I think ultimately one of these teams is going to lose this week. It's hard to say which one at the end of the day. But I think ultimately, even if they both lose or both win, I think this is going to be a big determination in who takes that number 1 spot going into next week.
All right. Obviously, most of our listeners, not on YouTube, can't see this. I'm taking my sunglasses off that I've had for this entire time. I'm bringing my case to the table. I'm the reason why the Chiefs and the Bills have a tie at this point. Look, competition, I understand. But the Cardinals, first off, are a good team.
This is true.
And let's be completely honest here. I don't think realistically the Chiefs are necessarily they haven't necessarily had the most deserving 3-0. They're a good team. I'm not saying they're not, but we know what's happened the past couple of weeks. Obviously, the Ravens are also toe from tying. They're finding ways to get it done. Blah blah blah. Patrick Mahomes, as well, has not necessarily played up to full expectation. He has more turnovers than touchdowns at the moment. Which turnover machine Allen, by the way, has had one, and it was a fumble. It wasn't even a pick. Go figure. Actual turnover machine has had, I think, 4 picks in 3 games, maybe 5 turnovers. I don't have it fully pulled up. Point being, yeah, no. I put the Bills 1, and I didn't even put the Chiefs 2. I think I put them 3 or something. And I'm being a little biased, but I don't believe in the championship privilege thing. I in terms of power rankings, I don't think it. Like, I think there's some substantiality to it there, but I don't think it fully carries.
Well, it's not just championship
just that.
privilege. It's back-to-back championship privilege.
It's the fact.
Back to
Okay,
back.
listen. The reason I have the Chiefs number 1 is because the fact is we do know that they are back-to-back champions. Whether they are entirely deserving of that or not, again, is up to whatever viewer, whatever they think. But the fact is that, yes, I will agree that the Chiefs currently have not been playing their best football. And that's the scary part, because they're not playing their best football and they're still coming away with it every single time. Because Josh Allen will always be him. But, Alex, when Josh Allen stops being him, the offense crumbles. The fact is, Patrick Mahomes is not him right now, and they're still coming away with those wins. And until they stop coming away with those wins, or until the Bills just, really blow out a very good opponent, I have to give them the privilege there. And
I will give you a counterpoint on the Josh Allen thing, just real quick. We do have a running back now. Helps.
yes, this is
But
true.
yeah,
This is true.
This is true.
James did cook.
One thing about this Chiefs team too, Kelsey has been non-existent in these first 3 weeks. He's been
Yes.
shut down. I feel like once Kelsey figures out whatever's going on with him, or him and Mahomes fix their connection, that's gonna be scary as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, if y'all want to put the Chiefs 1, I mean, that's fine. I mean,
I do put the
y'all
Chiefs
both put them
1,
1, so
but
I
the Buffalo Bills are an
Yeah.
incredible football team, and
yeah.
I genuinely, if it keeps going the way it does this season, I see them in the number 1 spot in no more than 2 or 3 weeks.
Salute to our president, Joshua Patrick Allen.
No, I don't think I will. But
Okay.
thanks anyways, I guess.
Flag, man.
Put Trubisky in. Put Trubisky in.
All right, man.
Put Trubisky in.
Bro, I
Listen,
love
I know
Mitch
we
Trubisky.
have the MVP, Nickelodeon valuable player.
The OG.
Hey, we had him
MVP.
last
Greatest
week.
award of all time. But
Hey, last week Marvin Harrison was the Nickelodeon Player of the Week. So
no,
you know.
he's the OG.
Trubisky's the
Trubisky's
OG
the
MVP. He is the MVP.
He
Okay,
is the
fair enough.
MVP. Anyway,
Fair enough. Shout out to Mitch
We-
Trubisky for 3 yards of offense.
Hey, he had 100% completion percentage.
100%. So not
he did.
not the only one there. Stephon Diggs
You're
was not
correct,
the only
not the
one.
only one.
So I take back your congratulations, Stephon Diggs. You suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Who even are you? Trubisky is the GOAT.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So to recap,
Speaking,
we have at 32 the Titans, 31 the Jags, 30 the Panthers, 29 the Dolphins, 28 the Patriots, 27 the Browns, 26 the Giants, 25 the Bengals, 24 the Raiders, 23 the Broncos, 22 the Bears, 21 the Colts, 20 the Rams, 19 the Cowboys, 18 the Jets, 17 the Ravens, 16 the Falcons, 15 the Commanders, 14 the 49ers, 13 the Chargers, 12 the Cardinals, 11 the Buccaneers, 10 the Texans, 9 the Seahawks, 8 the Eagles, 7 the Green Bay mother-loving Packers, 6 the Steelers, 5 the Lions, 4 the Saints, 3 the Vikings, 2 the Bills, and just on the cusp, 1 the Chiefs.
They're losing soon. I feel it. Anyway,
So there we go.
we did a post on Instagram and whatnot. We had weekly games
Yes.
to look out for, games of the week for us for this upcoming week.
In fact, we
giving
we had to pause this stream about halfway through because we realized we hadn't decided those yet, and I think we spent like a good 20 minutes just trying to figure out what these games are, because there's a really good lineup of games and you should really watch as many of them as you can. But if you have to pick 3 games, you should watch one of these.
We're giving you Minnesota at Green Bay. Big battle in the NFC North. Obviously, Malik Willis is still playing, but they've been winning games with them, and the Vikings obviously look incredible. That's going to be an interesting game in Green Bay.
This is going to be exciting. Obviously, we got New Orleans at Atlanta. 2 teams no one expected much from this season, but they have a lot to prove, and only one of them is going to come out with that this week. Whether that is the New Orleans Saints reclaiming their spot, maybe in the top 3, or Atlanta trying to move up towards the top 10. Find out. It's going to be exciting.
And then finally, we got another matchup between Washington and Arizona. Jaden Daniels coming off of a big game, him and McLaurin. But also on the other side of the ball, Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. not coming off a great game, but coming off 2 weeks ago, a big game there. It's going to be a fun offensive matchup between those 2 teams.
That's also the Cliff Kingsbury game.
This is the Cliff Kingsbury revenge game. This is the battle of Cliff Kingsbury's 2 prized pupils in Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels. It is also his first time back in State Farm Stadium since he ran off with his girlfriend to Taiwan. It's going down. Let me tell you, I'm pretty sure he's still on our payroll, actually, so that's a little awkward, but
He's coming in to get his check.
He's picking up his check and leaving.
But it's fine. I would genuinely pay him to not be our head coach because I love Jonathan Gannon. He has that fire in his gut, you know? So, yeah.
Shall it be forth that this week will be one for the history books?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm speaking in old. You get my point. I
Yes,
don't
you
know.
are.
I'm just yapping, y'all. You're all. You listen to me now.
Okay, bud.
What was that? Huh?
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 What?
What?
Anyway.
Anyways, thank you for listening to us ramble about football for a long time. If you disagree with us, please leave us a comment. If you make it juicy, maybe it'll be next week's comment of the week, read by our beloved and electric Alex. Shout out again to our biggest fan, Dylan. We love you. We dedicate this entire episode to you. We hope to see you coming back
again.
again.
To watch some paint dry, and maybe you even join us afterwards.
Yeah, hey.
Maybe you can listen to us as you watch the paint dry.
I mean,
that's actually a pretty good.
They're both like the same thing, so why not?
Apparently so.
Anyways, thank you for joining us this week. Be sure to follow our socials. We'll leave them in the descriptions of the YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow all of our socials to possibly get our player of the week. We haven't done that yet, but we might start doing that. We'll post our Will Levis meme of the week. We'll post our games of the week. And yeah, we'll post our stat lines so you can see them too. We'll post our top 12 power rankings. And yeah, please reach out if you disagree. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love you to energize us. We'll dedicate our next episode to you or something like that. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Give me those negative comments. I eat them for breakfast. Peace out.